to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen. With me today is entrepreneur and Abraham Hicks fan, Louis D'Souza. This is your Daily Dose of Happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today.
It's an unusual day because we don't have a guest today, and Anne-Marie, unfortunately, can't join us. So, Louis, this is kind of like a throwback to when we just did shows, back in the dark ages of LOA Today.
But, well, who are you?
Yeah, right. It's nice to meet you again, right? Absolutely. And like we did so often in the past, we often included LOA stories. I've got an LOA story to share. It's nothing really fancy, but I think it's illustrative of how important it is to stay focused on what's important to you and what feels good to you. As you're probably aware, I know most listeners are aware, I run my wife Louise's gardening service and maintenance business. And we're in the high point of the season. We've been experiencing gorgeous weather. Oh my goodness, it's the last day of spring and it's idyllic. So that part is good. But there's the usual stresses and strains and so forth, and there have been plenty of them lately. And I was realizing today, as I was venturing out to take my daily walk, that I wasn't really paying enough attention to the walk. I was so hung up on all the junk that was going on. And I said, whoa, we can't really do that. That's not good. And so I was deliberately focusing from that point on. I deliberately focused on how beautiful it was because it was gorgeous. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. Blue sky, nice, comfortable temperature. It was just idyllic. And it was really interesting to me because my mind kept shifting back and forth. I'd focus on that and then I'd be drawn back to the dark side again. Bring myself back to the beautiful stuff again. Drawn back to the dark side again. So I was playing that little tennis game. And as so often happens when you have experiences like that and you get yourself to really focus and really pay attention to what's going on that you really love, because it's a great way to, change your perspective away from that other stuff you don't like. As usual, that stuff became less important. It became, the more I persistent I was about it, the other stuff just became less and less of a drag on my mind. And I knew I had this, one of the reasons I was so, just kind of distracted was I had a customer service issue that I really didn't want to have to deal with. And I wasn't sure how I was going to do it. But after the walk and after I got myself feeling really good, all of a sudden the solution became absurdly easy. And basically I dished it off to my VA so she could take care of it. But I was not aware of that. I mean, that was not part of my conscious thought process while I was feeling down. So it was just, it's not a big LOA story, but it's just another reminder of how, when you give your attention to what you don't like and you do it consistently enough, it actually takes away, possible solutions. It takes away quality of life. It makes everything you just kind of are drawn in over and over again magnetically to that miserable. You have to actually take your mind directly, intently away from it, focus on what you love, and the whole thing shifts. It's amazing. How many times have we talked about that, right? But once again, it's like, oh my goodness, there it is again.
Yeah, it just becomes easier and easier and easier with practice. And the practice turns into a belief or more into a knowing, which you just literally carry around with you like I was going to say like an aura.
Well, it kind of is. It's part of your aura, sure.
Yeah, talking about auras, somebody said something quite interesting because I was in a spiritual group, and I don't know if I've ever mentioned this to you before about auras, but there's quite a few people in the group who can actually see auras, and I always felt a little bit violated because they'd look at you like this. If they wouldn't look at you, they would
looking around you, right?
And then somebody pointed out to me what's actually going on. So the core of your being is inside you. And your physical body is more outside. And your aura is even more outside.
Yeah.
So, you're really not looking at who the person is. You're now looking at aspects, active vibrations that have kicked in over time, and some that you're carrying around and all the rest of it, and they're not very helpful. You're not actually focusing on the being who they are and what they are. You're now getting distracted by the things on the side. And I've never thought of it like that before, and it was like, wow,
It's
I
true,
wish I
though.
knew this before.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously an extension of yourself, but you're right. It's more of an extension about connected into the physical side, what's going on physically with you rather than who you are as a being. That's a great point. I hadn't thought of that one. You've never seen auras? I've been able to see auras sometimes, not very often, but I have been able to see them at times.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to see a layer of aura, but I wouldn't call it like, I know some people can see auras. It's nothing
Just
like, it's nothing like
continuously.
Telian photography.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see that outer layer all around people very clearly,
Mm-hmm.
but it's fairly solid and it doesn't change color. And so, yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I can't say that I've seen a whole lot of color change. In fact, I have to admit there's a piece of me that's a little bit skeptical about the color change part. I'm not saying that it definitely doesn't happen, but I kind of wonder how much of that is the reader reading into it, if you know what I mean.
Well, I think they see the colors, but what you determine the colors mean, I think that's open for interpretation.
Well, I'm sure that they believe they see the colors, but a color itself is an interpretation. It's an interpretation of electromagnetics, So if they're seeing, say, yellow, and like you say, they have some sort of association of what yellow means to them, will everybody who is sensitive to auras see yellow? Or will different people see different colors? Because my experience is different people seeing the same aura have seen different colors. So that's why I think that it may be more about the person doing the observing, what the color is, than the person being observed. Or the aura being observed.
Yeah, again, I only really like talking about what I know and don't really know anything.
Don't really know. That's
it,
fair.
so.
Yeah, okay. That's fair point. Fair point.
I know there's two people in my life who I'm absolutely convinced could see auras. And one of them is Donna Eden, who I've seen live a few times in London. Mm-hmm. And she can most definitely see auras without a hesitation. This one lady brought her son to Donna Eden, and he was, social, recluse, etc. And always, just in his room drawing things and all the rest of it. And as soon as Donna Eden saw her, she said, "Hey, hang on." She grabbed a piece of paper and a pen. She started drawing shapes. And the mom said, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." She said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Oh, he's drawing these all the time." And she could see them clearly in his aura, and they were very strong. And eventually he went to Harvard. The kid she helped balance him and help understand that he was actually a genius, etc. And the guy went to Harvard.
Wow. Very impressive. Yeah. Well, and what you just described, I mean, I know you won't address this part because, like you said, you've not directly experienced it. But I don't mind speculating about that stuff like that because that's what I do all the time. But when I hear that story about how she observed the shapes in his aura, that to me is her seeing the shapes because that's what she sees. And I think it's because she's such an intuitive. I mean, I imagine that auras are probably not the only way she intuits. She's probably able to pick stuff up in other ways too, but because she intuited shapes, therefore there were shapes. That's my speculation anyway. is there like a fax going on or something?
Yeah, I was like, is that hooting your side or my side?
I don't think it's on my side. I don't know.
The ghosts, the gremlins in the system.
Maybe that's whoever's observing our auras. I mean,
so I've got a sauna story, and
oh, good.
There was this nice lady, Indian lady, and I was chatting to her, and she was telling me that her husband has got Alzheimer's. No, not Alzheimer's. Her husband's got muscular dystrophy.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know a lot about it. But we were chatting about Sadhguru, and she said, "Oh, he's into him as well." So I said, "Oh, I'll probably get along well with your husband." She says, "Oh, he's here." So I said, "Cool." So I was walking out and I saw this guy whose muscles were a bit off his arm. So I said to him, "Are you the guy who's into Sadhguru?" And he said, "Yeah, yeah." And we started having a chat, and it was interesting. We got onto muscular dystrophy, and I said to him, have you ever looked on the internet to see if anybody has overcome it? Well, first thing I said to him is have the doctor said it's terminal? Mm-hmm. And he said yes. And I said, have you looked on the internet to see if, anybody has overcome it? And he said, no. And I said, is there a reason for that? And he kind of shrugged it off. I was pointing out to him the universal law of attraction, which he didn't seem to fully agree with. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of resistance, and everything was very mental. And he was always focused on, there's only 5% of the planet are intelligent, and I think that's a really, think for themselves. It's not true in any shape or form. I think more people on this planet at the moment are able to think for themselves than at any time in the past.
That's a fair statement. Yeah.
I don't think there's ever been a time where there's been more people who've been able to look at different studies, facts, people's opinions, etc., and make up their own out of it all.
And I think it's increasing too.
Massively.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's, we delved down different routes, but I don't think he was particularly happy, because I was saying, I believe that if you create an illness, you can cure it.
He didn't believe.
He said, "Oh, well, I didn't create this."
Yeah.
Yeah. So, until you understand, the Abraham Hicks law of attraction, which I actually listened to again, some of it yesterday, they really, really point that out with great clarity, that you create your own reality.
It's a tough one. I mean, that's a tough one to swallow. It really is. It takes a lot to get to the point where you can even consider it, let alone actually accept it.
So it was really, I can't say it was one of my most enjoyable conversations. I had to tread very carefully and all the rest of it. And I was saying to him, I find that it's so important, if you want to live a full life, you need to be comfortable with death.
How'd that go over?
It didn't go over very well. I said to him, I'm dying right now. And if you don't like what I'm saying, you can go and shoot me in the car park, and then I'm dead. It's just the way it is, I can't do much about it. And, I've come to terms with death in ways and means that, a lot of people may not have, because of not having out-of-body experiences, etc. But you kind of get to a real peace with it. But, it's a tricky one, because life is the most important thing. There's nothing more important than life. And, I always have to stress that and reiterate it, because it is, for me, I want to be alive. I want to continue. I want to be here. So I understand it,
Yeah, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't that important. Why would we bother? But we bother because it is very important. Yeah.
But, I don't have a lot more to say about that. That was probably the only good conversations I've had last week.
Well, you're reminding me of something, though. I had a guest on a couple days ago who was a great guest. She was really very optimistic, very powerful person, and so forth, who has multiple sclerosis.
Mm-hmm.
And her story was basically about once she got her diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, all the different ways that she determined she was going to live her life anyway, and she was going to feel good, and she was going to be positive and optimistic. But she kept saying one phrase over and over again, and I don't know if it was just because I wasn't feeling up to it or whatever, but I never challenged her on the phrase. But the phrase was, "I will have it forever. I will have MS forever." And it was really an interesting dichotomy, because on the one hand, she was really a positive person. I mean, positive, happy, just, totally focused. Everything. If she had been part of this conversation that we talk about here, the way we talk about what do you focus on, you get, and all that. If she'd been a part of that conversation, she would have been perfectly in tune with everything we said, but she still would have said, I'll have MS forever. And it was really interesting. And I thought about it afterward. I said, I wonder what would have happened if I had challenged her on that. I probably should have, in one sense. I mean, it's part of what you do as a host of the show.
You don't challenge. You don't replace the word challenge with in explore.
Okay. Yeah, that's it's a little bit less intrusive.
It doesn't have to be confrontational in any any shape.
No. I don't mean it as a confrontation, but you're right. Yeah.
The other thing I want
to the fact that it makes it a challenge is that when you present somebody with something like that and they haven't really wrapped their head around it, they feel challenged by it. That's what I meant by the challenge. It wasn't like I'm
to see if they feel challenged by it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been very wary about offering my advice unsolicited. It's something I don't particularly want to do. But then, I really listened to Abraham Hicks again, and he said, we live in an attraction universe. There is no assertion. None. There's no assertion anywhere.
An attraction universe with no assertion. Now, let's be specific.
There's no assertion in an attraction-based universe is the statement. Yeah.
So what, let's define terms here. When they say assert versus attract, what do they mean? Let's be specific.
So if I force my opinion on you, I'm asserting myself. Yes?
Okay.
But I can't assert myself. You can just refuse to agree with it.
Sure. So
if you are open to the idea, then you will allow it in. So basically what they're saying is there's no assertion in an attraction-based universe.
So you can assert, it just won't necessarily get you anywhere.
It won't, it might go somewhere, but it's only because the other person allows it.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, because it's an attraction-based universe.
And that's a great point. That actually was a point that I took a long time to try to figure out and make clear for myself, because I encountered people who were very much into law of attraction, who had a certain bit of a victim mentality about certain things. Yes, law of attraction applies in every area except for this one area because I got attacked, or something along that line. Mm-hmm. And that mindset, that frame of reference was basically antithetical to what we're talking about here, the idea that you really can't assert, to use the definition the way you just described it. And indeed, there are also people, and many of them fall into the Neville Goddard camp, who take a number of comments that Goddard made about how you can influence other people to get them to give you a call when you want them to give you a call, or to do certain behaviors that you want them to do. And what Goddard always said was, well, they have to, he didn't say it directly. He had a kind of an odd way of expressing himself, but he always expressed himself in a way that said they have to be a part of it. They have to in some way already be in alignment with it, or already want it, or something like that. He never suggested that you can do it against somebody's will.
Yeah.
That was really the key point. But like I said, he never really said it that clearly, that directly. So there was enough ambiguity in there that a lot of Neville followers like to say, well, yes, I can assert my will. I can basically get anybody to do anything I want them to do. Mm. And so that's why when I was confronted with that viewpoint, that's where I had to kind of come to grips with, okay, what's the truth here? What's really going on? What is this universe really all about? How does this whole thing really work? And the way I came to express it was, I can influence, but I can't control. Because influence requires the other person's cooperation. Control requires no cooperation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which is very similar.
Yeah, you can become an influencer, Abraham Hicks says, definitely.
Yeah. And influence is great. I love influence.
Yeah, negative influence is great.
Well, I mean, you like the negative influence. I like the positive influence.
No, I'm just trying to imply that influence can be looked at on both sides.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But the other thing I wanted to bring up, changing the subject completely, is I'm excited about getting rid of the Jaguar.
Really?
Getting a new
Oh my
car,
goodness.
yeah.
You've had that for how long now?
About 4 years.
4 years? Yeah. Okay.
It's been a while now. So, yeah, I'm going to go for a hybrid.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm going to go with Kia as well. So I'm very excited about that. We're getting a brand new Kia. It's already on order.
Very nice. Just
but-
don't tell Elon Musk.
Yeah, it's okay.
Elon can't stand hybrids. He thinks they're terrible. He wants electric only.
I understand that completely. You know, I wouldn't go a hybrid unless I thought it was going to be beneficial in the midterm.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's really going to be a good in between. You know, after 3 years, I'll look at the electric.
Sure.
I'll go all electric. Yeah. But in the meantime, because of all the long trips to the coast and all the things we do with the family, etc.
Especially with the price of
fuel. Wait for them to mature a bit with those batteries. But again, I've been looking into where they get the batteries from.
Oh, okay.
And it's quite horrific, really. There's places in America. So the America used to dig out the minerals or whatever it is that's necessary to make the batteries.
Mm-hmm.
But it was cheaper to get it from China, so America stopped. And they bought everything from China, and then America doesn't want to be reliant on China anymore, so now they're starting to do their own. And, you know, the mines are extremely destructive. I mean, extremely is an understatement of the year. To the local environment, it is horrendous. And it's not that easy to make batteries at all. You know, you need a lot of different parts to put together and a lot of the raw materials. So there is a lake somewhere in America where the water is of such a constitution that they don't have to do a lot of the process. They just have to siphon it off this lake. But to do that, they've, you know, devastated the environment around it. And there's not much you can do. You either get what you need for batteries or you don't, you know. And I don't see that the planet is actually able to produce the amount of batteries necessary to have all electric vehicles. I just can't see it at the moment.
So that raises an interesting question, because research is always being done, right? I mean, there are always people and companies who are trying to create new innovations and so forth. I wonder what's being done with battery research. And specifically, what's being done to create an alternative form of manufacture or whatever.
Well, as you're aware, batteries haven't progressed in the ability to store electrons particularly well for the hell of the longest time. Slightly improvements, but nothing major. Nothing. And electricity, to me, is kind of like source energy. Source energy is supposed to flow. It's not supposed to be static.
Okay.
So if you really get that, then you kind of, AC is more of a realistic electrical mode in my mind. I mean, this is purely my own theory, because it alternates and it's always flowing. Yeah, if you're using it, it's always flowing. And I don't know. There's something more. I don't think they'd be able to transport AC, alternating current, across long distances if it was DC. I don't think it's possible.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's true. DC just doesn't transport very far.
So, DC, of course, is just a reservoir of electrons. Battery is just a reservoir of electrons. Between a positive and a negative kind, and then as the electrons go from the one plate to the other, then the movement happens, and it's
right.
You know, a DC is just a straight line, where AC is, you know, the full curve. So storing electricity in DC in the form of batteries is really not easy. We can do it. It's not easy. It's just we haven't managed to perfect it to store large amounts quickly and easily. And I think it's not going to be the easiest thing for man to overcome that one. I think that's going to be one of its bigger challenges along the way, is to try store DC longer and bigger and better. But never mind.
But well, you made an interesting comment though. You pointed out that you wanted to know what the source of the batteries was, or the materials for the batteries, which suggests to me that there are some sources in your mind that are better than others.
I was just saying that AC, I think, is a better way than DC, but not anything else really.
Not
sourcing from different areas, yeah. But, a lot of people think it's going green, going electric. It's not. There is a carbon footprint, there is the mining, there is, it's huge. By the time it gets to you, there's, and the car and all its little gadgets. The car I'm getting has got automatic cruise control. It slows down in the car in the front lane. It stays in lane. It dims its lights when somebody comes to you. It's rearview mirrors go down when you reverse. You've got the stop start. You've got the start button. You've got the automatic entry. You've got so much technology, and all of them require different carbon footprints from different places. And if you started adding all those up for your vehicle, it'll be significant. So, even if you go electric, you're still not going green per se. Green would be staying at home, farming and sharing your food with your local community and living like that, and trading. That would be going green. But a lot of the things we're doing is damaging the planet. Well, the biggest thing that's really damaging the planet at the moment is agriculture. Can you see clearly how agriculture is damaging the planet?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we've had enough conversations on that topic that I have a clear idea about that. I still don't see it quite the same way you see it. I mean, you see it as a definite problem. This is one area where I would say that I have been actively applying the basic principles of Abraham Hicks and saying, don't look for the problem, look for the solution. And so to me, first part of the solution is don't worry about the problem, because all the worry does is bring you down and make things worse.
Absolutely. Got no problem with that.
So don't worry about it. So don't worry about that. And secondly, be confident that a solution is going to be achieved. And it is. I mean, I just firmly believe, I don't think it's even going to be one solution. I think it's going to be a series of solutions. I think there's going to be a whole bunch of solutions going on. So I'm aware of damage happens all the time. That's just part of the world of polarity. That's part of what happens in life. But by the same token, so does creation happen. So does productivity happen. So does improvement happen. So to me, it's not, I just don't even focus on it like you do. You get very excited about it, and that's great. Hey, I love that you're excited about it. I just don't get excited about it. It doesn't faze me one way or another.
Absolutely. I mean, me, I wasn't fazed by anything, before this came along, but I really see that from a real practical, down to earth life point of view. There are certain things that are going to happen. 52 years, petroleum is going to be finished. Okay? Believe it or not, look at it whichever way you want.
I don't really believe that,
54 years is gas. Okay? There'll be fossil fuels is time is ending, and everybody can see it. The writing's on the wall.
Well, they've been telling us that for a long time, but the evidence doesn't necessarily support the claim.
Okay, if you've got evidence that proves that it's going to last longer.
I don't have any evidence that proves anything. Let's remove the word proof, because proof does not have any role in this one.
Okay, point two, or whatever you want to use.
There is.
I'd just be interested because, those figures are interesting, because gas, 54, petrol, or what do you call it in America? You call petrol
we call it gasoline.
yeah. So petroleum 52, gas 53, and coal 114.
I look at the source of the data, because the source of the data, in my case, in my experience, is very often quite biased, and so then I start to question the data, because if the source is biased,
do you think fossil fuels will go on forever?
I don't know. I don't claim to have knowledge one way or the other about that. But when someone tells me,
if you're a president of a country and you need to make a decision, good luck with that.
You'll never make me president of a country. That's not going to happen. But okay, well, hypothetically.
Yeah, hypothetical. You can play that game. So hypothetical, you're president of a country and you've got this looming over your head. Do you ignore it, or do you move further studies? How many studies do you want to do? How long do you want to take the studies before you start making a decision on how to move forward?
The first thing I do is resign, because I don't want to be president. It's the last thing that I want. I have such a knowledge of what the truth is about politics that it's really I can't imagine too many things worse than that. Maybe going to the dentist. I mean, it's just that bad as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, if I were president, I would instantly resign just to improve my life, and it would improve my life.
Of course.
We're
not doing that. But if you are in the position to run a country, and you need to make a decision, are you going to look at these figures, or are you just going to ignore them?
I believe I answered the question a moment ago when I said I would take the figures in the context of the source. I don't think there's any such thing as unbiased data.
I agree.
I don't think that exists. And I
so
think that
what would you do? Go get more studies?
No, I wouldn't. You're presuming that I'm going to take on an issue. I've already said I'm going to resign, so I'm not going to take on the issue.
Yeah, but you get my point. Somebody needs to make a decision on how these things are going to move forward, one way or another.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
No. See, the assumption that's built into that is that there is a problem that has to be solved here. But I don't share that assumption.
Well, you could look at it from the other point of view. There's a solution to be found.
Yeah, but I don't have to adopt that view, that point of view, while at the same time believing that there's a problem that needs a solution. Okay. See, that's one of the key things that I learned.
So when you know what you don't want,
bear with me.
It doesn't exist.
Bear with me for just a moment here.
Okay.
This is a key thing that I learned over the last few years, because I'm one of these people who has a long history of getting bogged down by problems. And one of the things that I've learned is that the reason I get bogged down by problems is because I keep focusing on the problem.
Absolutely.
And if you keep focusing on the problem, you're going to continue to get problems. So the last thing that I want to do when presented with a problem is to look at the problem. Because I don't want to get bogged down on the problem.
You've got 17 seconds for free, Walt.
I don't want to. I have better things to do with that 17 seconds. I really do.
Okay.
Actually, what I'm still trying to do is I'm still trying to train myself to not pay so much attention to the problem. That's actually the biggest challenge I think that we face is I think most of us are addicted to looking at problems. I think it's a massive addiction. I think what most of us really need to do is to just stop. We want solutions? Fine. You don't have to look at a problem in order to find a solution. That was the hardest message for me to get.
It helps clarify it. When you know what you don't want, you have a much better idea what you do want.
But that's about all you have to give attention to it. See, the people who give attention, well, do you really though? Because you keep looking at the problem over and over and over again. And that's what I'm pointing to.
Actually you do.
Actually you do. Actually you do. Because you keep bringing up the same problem over and over again. That's how I know that you keep looking at it.
Well, if I'm on a separate podcast all the time, it's always good to show people what we're talking about and to focus on what you don't want for a short period of time so you can focus on what you do want. And I was going to go into all that, but we got stuck on this now.
Well, this is a key point. This is a really, really important point.
It's a key point for you, not key point for me. I want to move on.
Yeah, I know. You want me to buy into your scenario. I'm trying to explain to you why.
No, you don't have to buy into anything, Walt. I'd never want you to do anything I want you to do.
Sure you did. You were trying to get me to buy into the scenario. Yeah, you were. You kept saying, yeah, but what if you did have this problem? You just kept going back to that. That's going back to the scenario over and over again.
Well, I was just trying to see if you can. I don't know, if you don't have any problems in your life, then you got nothing to solve,
No.
and everything's fine.
See, there's where we get into the addiction right there. And the reason I say that is, it's one thing to identify a problem, but when we claim, well, if you're not spending more time focusing on it, then you're not identifying the problem. Then I think there's a problem with that. That's actually a false assertion. That's actually taking something that isn't a problem and turning it into a problem. That's probably the best way to describe it. You don't have to spend tons of time on the problem. Where we end up tripping up is we do spend tons of time on the problem. That's where things go wrong, because we're constantly focused on problems, the same problem over and over and over again. We just keep going on and 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 on, and then we never get to the solution. Yeah, sure. Of course, you need to have the problem for the contrast. That doesn't mean you have to spend a whole lot of time on it. You can spend, like a nanosecond and you're done. It's like, oh yeah, problem. Okay. That's all I need. I don't need to spend more than that. However, we as humans have been socialized into believing, yeah, we do have to spend time on the problem. And so we keep going back to it. I think that's what this is also tied into something that's been really gnawing at me for the longest time. Why it is we're so focused on negativity as a species, because we really are. There are people just can't get enough of it. They can't get enough of the drama. They can't get enough of all this stuff. And I do get it. I mean, the more that you focus on it, the more you get. Sure, that's part of it. But why is it so attractive? What? And that's probably the wrong word, or maybe an advisory word. Why is it so interesting? Let's put it that way. Why is that negative so fascinating to people? Because people are clearly fascinated by it, right? I mean, it's obvious how fascinated we humans are with negativity, with drama, with the huge polarity, with the huge contrast. And I think part of it is simply that, let's see, how do I express it in terms of what we're talking about here? It's the belief that if I don't do that, then I haven't given attention to the problem, which is not true. It's not true. But we act as if it's true, so that's why we keep coming back to it over and again. Well, yeah, but without the problem, you can't have the contrast. You already got the problem. It was already there. It's not like you lacked it. It's not like it's like the conversation I had with the stream at one point. The stream of David was trying to, let's see, what was the point they were trying to make? They were trying to make the point that we live in a world of polarity, and that we chose to come to this world of polarity, and they kept hammering on the polarity. And that was, I get it. But then after a while, I said to myself, well, is there a shortage of polarity? I mean, why do we have to be so concerned about there being polarity? It's there. It's not like it's missing. It's not like there's not enough of it. There's plenty of it. There's no shortage of polarity. Why must we keep going back to the polarity? Why is that so important? Because that becomes like a way to justify it. Let's justify it. I gotta go back to that drama again. I gotta keep looking at that negativity again. Why? What's so important about it? We didn't see it the first time? Sorry, I guess I went on a little bit there.
You're stuck, Walt. Never mind. So what I was trying to point out is this one video that I put up to you. I watched it again, and this guy has created this closed loop system, which you did say you were quite excited about. And, so he uses biochar initially, and then he's got fungus. And it goes all the way back. But basically it produces loads and loads of electricity. Mm-hmm. It's like a huge powerhouse. And it was just, it was so... from your heart, you just feel so good about what he's done there. And it's such an interesting and inspiring thing, because what he's done is the fuel for the soil, he's increased up to 400%.
That's cool.
So he can speed up the growth of food by No, not 400%. What he can do in 4 days, it would normally take nature to do in 400 years, which is absolutely mind-blowing.
That's quite a ratio.
And this guy is super intelligent.
Is this the guy in Canada? I remember there are a few of these you've told me about.
Yeah, no, I thought it was Canada. It's actually, what state starts with an M in America?
Michigan, Montana, Massachusetts,
Michigan. I think it's in Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I didn't even, it was America, not Canada. So, I made a note of that. And it was just really, really interesting. It was burnt down and, had to rebuild it, etc. But, the potential of that is gargantuous, absolutely gargantuous. The amount of, flack he's likely to get from the power companies is going to be probably quite interesting. But,
that's always fun.
But really, what he can do is he can turn the scenario around of the soil, etc., in an incredibly short period of time. And it really is interesting to see that there are many, I was watching another program and the person was saying, you can't say who's the head of all these different groups of improving the planet, because there are thousands and thousands. There's one in each town. There's one in each area. There's, there's thousands and thousands of them. And as you say, there's so many solutions coming out now, and I've come across so many of them.
That's fun.
And it's really, really interesting because, I did the lawn and, all the birds are not eating in the bird feeder. They're eating off my lawn now.
I remember you said that, yes.
And now I've done the rest of the lawns in my garden. And that's really, really exciting. The compost heap is speeded up quite a lot because it's now a hot-based one. So we're kind of getting like a bag of compost a month, which is really nice compared to like after a year we were getting some compost. But it's just such a fantastic journey. I mean, the garlic which we pulled out the other day, like huge chunks, and my daughter went and platted them and put them in our shed now. When I walked in there, it was like, whoa, this looks like a witch house. And, it's really such a feeling of, wow, this is really working. And then I said to my wife, what's the difference between sand and soil? Because this is the biggie. I know I've mentioned it on the show, but I just want to go over it again. So, when you take sand and you add organic content, you get soil. When you take soil and you remove inorganic content, you got sand. So, I said to her, your beds are open to the sky, and before you get all these things that you're growing to come up and protect them with their leaves, etc. And I said, they need to be covered. So I was just saying, I want to think about a way. How can we do this? How can we cover them and protect them? And then she went online and she found some wool, just kind of like wool blanket type thing. Offcuts of the wool and stuff like that. So yeah, she bought that, put it down, and literally the soil underneath is still very, very moist and protected, etc. So it's a great solution, to protect soil until the plants have grown up, etc. And then you can move that covering to different areas if you want to. So it's really, really working well. I just wanted to bring that out.
So let's go back to the guy who created, the 400-year miracle, for the lack of better terms. Is that the essence of what he was doing? What was he doing? I wanted to know more about what he was doing.
So what he was doing is he wanted to create. He wanted to, first of all, he's very, very orientated around sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's not into waste and all that kind of thing. So what he wanted to do was to find out how to make something that will improve the soil and also produce electricity, and then have no waste. So the only waste he's got, I mean, the CO2 goes back into his kiln, which makes his biochar, which just takes off-cut of woods. So the only thing that comes in is off-cut of woods. And so the CO2 is even used in the closed loop system. So the only thing, he can run his entire setup with his electricity that's generated, and something like, something like 20 other houses fully running on electricity as well, that he can generate from the small plant of his.
Okay, but what I want drilling in on is what it is that he's actually doing to generate the electricity.
What's he doing to generate it? Yeah. It's a good question. It's so complicated, this little system of his that's closed loop, that I can't even begin to understand it.
Oh, okay. Because to me, that's the cool part. That's the part that I really want to know. Like, oh, wow, what's he doing? This is really great.
Yeah. He was saying that the algae that he uses has something like 5 times more. What does coal give you? Heat, fire, energy. It's about 5 times more effective than coal. And, we'd never have dreamt that algae is so much more effective than coal.
No, not really.
I'd never have thought of it. But really, he's got this like slush. He's got this algae, and he's got this machine turning around, moving the algae. He's got this beast which he's got there, which he throws in the wood, and it burns it, and then it goes.
Did you say a beast?
Yeah, that's what he kind of calls it. It's kind of like his dragon. He calls it the dragon because it kind of burns everything. Yeah, no, he's a fantastic guy. I mean, he turned down working for Star Wars,
he sounds like he's come from Star Wars. What are you talking about?
He was into artificial intelligence. So what he does is he monitors the algae with electronics, so it knows exactly when it needs more nitrogen, etc., and when it needs more this and more that, so he can adjust it easily and quickly. But literally, what he's saying there is what nature takes 400 years to do, he can do in 4 days, which is, if there's any truth to that whatsoever, it's an incredible story.
Well, that's why I'm curious to know what the truth is. That's why I want to know how he does it.
But again, I sent you the link. You can watch it. You can see for yourself. But again, I don't know how much of this is true and how much it really works. And, I would have thought he would have had a lot more problems by now. But again, this is still the same original video, slightly modified, that I watched. I actually bought it on Vimeo. What's it called again?
I don't know.
Yeah, there we go. Successful purchase. Oh, no, it's just dot exploring. The Need to Grow. It's called The Need to Grow. And yeah, I mean, I don't really have too much else to say about it all. It really is an inspiring video. There's different aspects which you bring in. They bring in a farmer, they bring in this guy, and they bring a little girl who's champions, clean energy and healthy food, etc. She's only 8 years old, but she's incredible as well. So it brings in 3 different kind of stories and aspects, kind of blends them together, and it does a good job.
Yeah, it looks good. I just found the movie, so I'll have to take a look at The Need to Grow. I do kind of hope that they're giving us some clear idea of what's actually being done here. I have to admit, whenever I get a sales pitch on, well, this is going to clean up the planet and it's going to do all this other stuff, I say, yeah, okay, great. But what does it actually do? It's the same thought that keeps going to my mind over and over again. Like, okay, yeah, okay, you're trying to sell this stuff to me. Got it. Now, what are you selling?
But again, there's absolutely nothing that they're selling. There's nothing you can buy besides
well, you know what I mean.
watching the movie. That's
they're
about
trying
it.
to sell they're trying to sell a mindset and an idea. And
Yeah.
okay, I get it. They like the mindset and the idea, but I want to know the thing.
Mm.
I want to know how the thing works.
You know, I don't know if the guy's going to give it to everybody free on the planet.
I don't care whether he gives it free or not, but you know,
yeah.
I mean, what we're talking about is basically you brought up the idea of data before. Data is the foundation of science. The idea of science is that science is brought out and discussed in public. And I mean, if we've gotten to the point now where all we're going to talk about are the selling points of what we found, are we really doing science? I'm not so sure that we are at that point.
Yeah, I'm part of a science group, and these guys get really technical, and there's a lot of information out there on the soil, and it's really, really interesting to kind of on the glimpse on this outside, as much as I can understand what they're talking about. But it's there's a lot of very, very technical minds out there trying to find the reality of it, and you know what's really going on and what they can and really can't do. And they're really knocking their heads together to do it. And, you know, there's a strong community doing that. I mean, I get about 170 posts a day, you know. It's like, oh my God, I can't go through this. But they're all excited and really focused and passionate.
The great challenge, of course, is taking that information. I'm not saying this is something for you to do necessarily. I'm just saying this is something that is needed at some point. To take that information, to take that knowledge and translate it in some way to something that the broader masses can grasp. Because we've been able to do that with the older technologies. In many cases, the newer technologies, we aren't really doing that. And I think it's kind of a loss to not do it. Everybody's just kind of holding everything close to the chest. But that's where the cool stuff is. When we can find ways to express in everyday terms, you know, how stuff like this works. You know, what's the mechanism going on? What's the action what's the fuel? What's the stuff that's happening that makes these things happen, that makes these things work the way that they're claimed to work? That's the cool part. Being able to explain that part,
absolutely.
That's the fun.
Yeah.
That's where it's
great.
great.
I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah. So that's what I keep hoping for, you know, more information like that. That's why I like the Fantastic Fungi movie that came out. There was some propaganda to it. There was some, you know, they're presenting a mindset, but they also presented some data, but they also used illustration to show you how to understand what the process was. That was one of the best parts of the movie. They used a lot of CGI in that, a lot of computer generated images and graphics, and the purpose was to demonstrate how does stuff work? What happens? What happens when A leads to B, which leads to C, which leads to D? How can we visualize that? And they did a marvelous job of that. So that to me that's the exciting kind of movie. That's the exciting kind of presentation. The kind that
I agree with you when they make it in some ways that you can fully grasp or understand. Well, understand to some degree. I mean, not fully.
Well, you know, that's the whole point of the layman's viewpoint. Layman's viewpoint isn't going to take in all the technical pieces. We can't. It's just not possible to do that. But you can at least present a cohesive whole that a layman can understand. That's the goal.
Yeah, and if somebody can't, I don't have much time for them. If somebody's got a philosophy and they're not clear about how it works and they can't explain how it is, then they don't understand it themselves. That's the way I look at it.
How about if they won't do it? How about if they won't explain it?
That's fine. I'll move on. I don't need to know what they know. I'm not going to force anybody to do anything they don't want.
I'm not either.
Keep secrets.
I just don't see a huge difference between can't and won't. There is a difference. It's just not big in my mind. I mean, they're very, very similar.
Yeah, the other thing that I'm passionate about at the moment is starting to do more and more woodwork. You know, I've done so much in the house, and I'm going to join a group on Thursday. It's called Men in Sheds from Australia.
I love it.
Great
title.
name.
What a name.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm going to go potter on there and chat to them because, you know, I want to take it further now. I've done all the big things like the fence and the the garden beds with sleepers and, the stairs and, I've done the flooring and all that kind of stuff, the big stuff, it's more like, it's not artistic stuff or, like creative stuff very much. It's more like just technical. But now I'm really looking forward to, just doing small project like making a little step stool for my garage. And build it up from there. I'm really enjoying that. I'm really, really enjoying that. The solar panels we've got, I'm so excited about those.
Yeah.
Our electricity bill's gone down to like 20 quid a month.
Nice.
We got the spare electricity, which is why I wanted the EV car so that we can plug it in.
Sure. Yeah. Take advantage.
Yeah, exactly. So instead of throwing it into the grid, just put it into the car. I reckon we can easily charge the car from the solar panels completely. Because it's not a full EV, so it's not a huge battery.
I was just going to ask, how long does it take to charge the battery off the solar panels?
It's supposed to be 2.5 hours.
Oh, that's not bad.
No.
That's pretty good.
If I just choose the sunny days, then you probably have to do it once a week because the engine will charge the battery as well whenever you're driving, whenever you're going down a hill.
Right.
Yeah. So you've got that constant feeding the battery even when you're driving. So you don't really lose. So, you can get like 500 miles per gallon at least on this thing, it's a bit mind blowing, So that's exciting for me as well. Working more and more with solar, and seeing how real it is. It's, it really works. It's there. It works. We do a lot more of our cooking now during the daytime when the sun's out.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. Just, because it's free electricity. Why would you not? It just doesn't really make much sense not to. Well, the batteries are fully charged by 11 on a sunny day. So, all the extra electricity goes into the grid and then they pay you peanuts for it. Like absolute peanuts in this country now. They're hardly giving you anything for electricity thrown back into the grid. Yeah. So you really have to find other ways of using it. Yeah. Then they'll give you 8p and they charge you something like 40p for your electricity, per kilowatt. And then they'll only give you 8 when you give it back to, when your solar panels give it to them. It's like, come on. And that's the best rate in the UK, So, yeah.
I don't know what the equivalents are here in the U.S., but they're probably similar. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
But, because I'm struggling a lot to get this whole thing set up, they're making it really difficult and I don't even want to go into it because it's depressing. It's really been tough for me. I mean, I've tried to give a positive viewpoint on the whole thing, but,
you're making progress. That's a positive part.
Yeah, definitely making progress. But it's taken me, we installed it about 3 or 4 months ago, and I'm only now getting to the final stages of being able to get paid for it by putting it into the grid. They've drawn out I've got the solar panel guys were what do you call them? Just gung ho, like,
oh, sure. That's part of the sales pitch.
Yeah. Just not the actual equipment they gave us was all good. But the after sales, and the looking after you and making sure that they've done all their paperwork and submitted it to all the right people, trying to get hold of them to own up to their responsibility, trying to get them to call you.
Interesting.
And I've really tried the law of attraction to get that turned around, and I just got stuck with this one. I usually manage to work very well with all those online calls and get them, very positive and all the rest of it. But with these guys, it's just, they just don't care. This is no caring whatsoever. They don't.
It's almost like the universe
they've got your money. They've got your money.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
I'm only interested in the next guys.
But it's like you were talking about that you're looking for applications. It's almost like the universe is pushing you in that direction, saying, don't spend all your time over there. Spend your time over here. This is where all your abundance is.
Yeah. So it's just so exciting, to have my electric scooter charged by solar panels, to have my electric car charged by it. And then, I've got a immersion heater, so I'm going to be heating my water with the solar panels to a degree as well.
Wow.
And
You're having
then
some
there's
fun there, friend.
yeah, it's just, to me, just trying to find out how you can make things more and more sustainable. And you know, there's one guy who found that graphene. You know, graphene.
I know the
great
name. I don't know
advantage
what
of
it is.
graphene. We're going over now, but graphene doesn't lose any heat. If you put heat on one side, 100% comes out the other side.
Oh, okay.
So this guy was making a rope out of graphene, and I don't know how far he got, but he was thinking that, you know, let's put it into the center of Earth, and then we'll have unlimited power.
That's an interesting challenge.
Yeah. I mean, the ideas people are coming up with are gargantuous in so many ways. They are now making electricity with rain, and literally it's so easy that, you know, you can go on YouTube and look it up. You just got a two cathode and anode, and as the rain drops between the two, it creates a charge.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. And they're also learning to store electricity in concrete.
In concrete, okay.
In concrete. So you're going to have your whole house as a battery. It's very inefficient at the moment. Very, very, very inefficient.
Yeah, I would say.
But they have designed a way to make concrete store electricity. Yeah.
That's wild. I love
it. Is. I mean, the ideas I'm hearing at the moment, they're just incredible.
Yeah.
You know, so now you can make electricity when it rains, even though there's no sun, you know, and you start realizing that the potential out there, I've always known that there's unlimited energy.
Sure.
We just haven't tapped it. And now I'm starting to see all the different ways that it is possibly possible. And, you know, how many of the ideas that people came up with have been bought out by the oil companies and have just been sat on, you know, like tons and tons and tons. But never mind. I'm just looking forward to all of this coming out the closet, and then we're starting to work with boundless, endless amounts of free electricity and energy on this planet. And
I don't think it matters what the oil companies have been doing, because I try to imagine what the lawsuit would be. Okay. You know, so they basically copyrighted or patented or in some way tried to control these things. And then somebody comes along and takes the technology and puts it to use. You know, how does that lawsuit from the oil company work? We are now suing you for using this idea that we refuse to use. That's going to fly real well in court. I mean, I'm looking forward to that one. That's going to be the trial of the century. It's going to be so much fun. Trying to convince the judge that, yes, we could be saving humanity, but we're not going to let anybody do that because we aren't making a profit off of it. Yeah, I don't see a judge going for that one. I don't care how conservative he is. I don't see any judge ruling in favor of that company.
Yeah, but, you know, I think they just took them and squashed them from the, you know, just enough information's probably been kept so that the guy can't, you know, reproduce it.
But that's the thing. The information is energetically available. Everybody can access it, and that's what people are doing.
Yeah.
They're all accessing it at the same time. You know?
And it's going to, you know, as soon as you come out in a certain way, they'll probably be able to slap you on with lawsuits. But as soon as you have a variation on a theme, then they can't do anything anymore. So
it'll be like the lawsuit back in the day, the beginning of the internet, when the owner of MP3 tried to sue everybody, and the courts just weren't going to have it. Like, yeah, okay, so you have the patent, but it's not going to do you any good because it's a universally accepted technology now. You can't control it anymore. That's basically what the court said. So they can have their day in court. They're not going to get much out of it. Just not going to happen.
Nope.
Yeah. Well, like you said, we have gone over, but this has been fun, and I want to do more of this. This is good. I like these explorations of different solutions that people are pursuing. This is good stuff. We got to do this more often. Really, really good.
If you let me get there and talk about
it. I'll let you talk about that all you want to. I just get
good.
I just get put out with all the stuff about, we're constantly destroying the planet, and we're destroying the soil, and we're destroying, like, okay, I get that. Move on. Move on. Good. Let me hear the other part.
The solutions are really, really, really interesting and varied. Wow, so many different areas.
And that's the cool
You
part.
have no idea. Cool. And the passion people have for this is incredible as well.
And that is
it's good to see people getting together over one thing in a positive way to try and sort it out.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. Totally agree on that. That's a great way to finish the show off. So good stuff. All right. So we'll have a guest next week, and hopefully Anne-Marie will be back. So we'll welcome her back as well. But Louis, have a great week and continue work with those batteries. Get something hooked up there. Give us a new report on something. You found some new way to hook up some new gadget to the batteries.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely be working with the solar panels for the rest of my life. They are amazing. Really worth it.
Excellent.
Go get some.
Buy them in your local store now. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today.
Take care, everybody. Bye.